Have I been repeating bad information to my viewers about Bitcoin and what it's going to do in 6 or 7 months? I've been saying that there'll come a time where I'll probably sell my HODL position, and that's based on information that I've gathered from these people on YouTube that have been around Bitcoin for a long time. One of the reasons I even got into Bitcoin was because of this digital asset news fellow here. I've recommended my viewers watch him a couple times in past videos, and he's the one where I saw a video about 3-4 months ago about the halving, the 4-year cycle, the four-year halving of Bitcoin, and so he's one of the guys that got me fascinated with Bitcoin and opened my eyes. And I've been repeating and him and all these other YouTubers. I just want to point him out because I want to thank that guy for opening my eyes to Bitcoin. But one thing I know is sometimes when people are too close to a project, that sometimes they lose vision of what is really going on with it. Sometimes you can just be too close. So a lot of these folks were bag holders 4 years ago and 8 years ago when Bitcoin got pumped and dumped by the retailers. You know, the retail people, individuals like you and I. And so I've been repeating that information because I'm new. But maybe it takes a new person to come in and say, wait a second, I wasn't a bag holder. I haven't been through the past cycles. And I'm looking at it now, and I think I've changed my mind completely. I don't know if there is going to be a bear market. I don't know if there's going to be a pump and dump like they're used to. I may have just been repeating bad information, so I'm going to probably do a little switch around here. I say I may never, ever may sell my HODL position. I'm going to see how it goes, but so usually what happens in Bitcoin is the last 2 4-year cycles, it'll look something like this. See, it'll get pumped up and then it'll get dumped down. But this guy made a video. Where'd it go? He made a video called Institutional Bitcoin. He made this a couple days ago. Payments and hedge, but they will dump it. And then down here in the description, it says interview with Goldman Sachs pulls back the curtain on institutions and their plans with Bitcoin. It says hint, and it involves payments, hedging, and an eventual dump in the upcoming bear market. And this video opened my eyes again because I think that might be completely wrong. These institutions that are buying this Bitcoin, I mean, people are calling Bitcoin the greatest asset in the history of humans. And there's only going to be 21 million ever. And I think it's at a point now where the history is irrelevant of Bitcoin. There may never be another bear market, and I think that might be correct. I could be wrong. But this is Goldman Sachs and billionaires are putting money. Michael Saylor just bought like 15 million more, or something like that, when it was at 57,000. They're not even. He's not even waiting for the dip. When he gets money, he just buys it. He doesn't even care about the price. So these are like Mass Mutual, one of the oldest insurance companies in the United States, and all these people. Here's a story just came out 7 hours ago. This Howard Marks dude, considered a legendary investor, and he was a big critic of Bitcoin. He's totally flip-flopped, and now he's talking about how wonderful it is. This guy, I mean, nobody can steal it from you. It's better than an emerging market currency. And so Bitcoin's basically, it's like some people, I don't know if it sinks in their head. Bitcoin is actually being considered by the best investors on the planet as perhaps most likely the best asset that they've ever seen in their life. And that's ever been in the history of our world. So those are statements. These aren't the kind of people that pump and dump. You know what I mean? So it was this digital asset news guy was one of the folks that got me into this, and then there was Raoul Pal. He I think he used to run. I don't know if he's a CEO or not of Goldman Sachs or not, but he's not there anymore. But he's got like 80-90% of all of his wealth in Bitcoin. And I watched some of his videos around the same time he got me into it. And then I watched Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor's the guy with the big ship that I've shown on my videos before. The big ship behind him where he sits at his desk and does interviews. And this is Raoul Pal. And in this story, let me just read some of this, what he's talking about here. The headline is macro guru Raoul Pal says Bitcoin could hit $1 million price tag this cycle that we're in right now, that's supposedly supposed to end in 6 or 7 months. He says $1 million price tag on Bitcoin could be in the cards for this bull cycle. In an interview with Peter McCormack, blah blah blah. The former Goldman Sachs executive says the 7-figure mark is his peak bull cycle target for the flagship currency Bitcoin. That goes parabolic. Let's see what he says. I just use regression line and use the trend logarithmic scale, and it basically says somewhere between Plan B's stock and flow model, which I think is around 100,000, maybe a little higher, and 400,000 is right. And that's kind of what I've been thinking too. But like 220,000, 250,000 is probably a pretty safe thing to say to people. But he goes on to say, but it could actually hyperextend to get as high as it did from the trend in 2013, which would give us $1 million Bitcoin. So I think it's skewed slightly higher than people expect. So I don't think it gets to $1 million. But we've got institutions coming in, so who knows how this dynamic changes. And it suddenly occurred to me, what if it does hyperextend up to $1 million, and then there is a 60% dump? Is that even considered a dump at that point? If it dumps down to $400,000, is that a bear market? If it's $400,000 after it goes to $1 million or 300,000. Even if it doesn't go to $1 million, say it just goes to 400,000 this bull cycle, it's liable just to dump 25%, 30%, like it's been doing the last 4 or 5 months. Because these people aren't people that play pump and dump games. I mean, they are the people that will scare death out of you. So, like, I think maybe digital asset news here maybe hasn't been paying a lot of attention. And like Goldman Sachs, that's what Goldman Sachs does. Goldman Sachs doesn't tell what they're going to do for the next 12 months. They don't tell people that. They don't tell people they're going to dump an upcoming bear market. They wouldn't. If Goldman Sachs hinted or insinuated that they're going to dump Bitcoin in the next bear market, then that means that they're going to do the exact opposite. That's not how these people like that work. They wouldn't even get involved if they thought they were going to be dumping it in 6 or 7 months. It's not what they do. What they do is they say one thing and do another, and you got to flip flop your thinking. So I might not be completely right about this, but I've heard some other people say that it's just different this time, and there's not going to be. This might be a super cycle where there are no more 4-year cycles. Because in the past, these institutions weren't involved like this. And there's literally the richest people and the wealthiest entities, business entities on the planet are pumping billions of dollars into it. And what's going on with all the money printing because of COVID-19, it's occurred to me now watching some of these YouTubers talk about the upcoming dump. I think I'm just repeating bad information. I don't know if there's going to be a dump. I may never sell my HODL position here. I may take out a loan against it to buy a house and some land. Of course, it won't go up to $1 million for very long, but it could though. It's not. People think it sounds so crazy, but the people that are saying it sounds crazy are also the same people that know that Bitcoin used to be less than a penny 10 years ago. So, and and they always say, they laughed at us, and and then finally they had to believe us. But those same people are saying that are laughing at these other people now. They're saying they might go to $1 million here in the very near future. So it's going to be interesting for sure to watch. I've always been talking about I'm going to stick to my Bitcoin plan, and that was always based on the people I watched that got me into it. Like, well, not so much Raoul Pal and Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor is under the impression. Let's see if we can find Michael Saylor. Where was he? He's from Lincoln, Nebraska. That's just down the road from where Warren Buffett came from. Michael Saylor is under the impression, and I'm pretty much believing him now, that there are going to be no more bear markets. That it is just simply different now. And it's just common. It's as simple as economics gets: supply and demand. There's a tiny supply of Bitcoin. There's only like 2.5 more to be mined. 4 or 5 million are probably lost, give or take. So there's probably 15 million out there right now in the world. And most of those are locked up and are never going to see the light of day. So here's Michael Saylor just a few days ago, talking 15 million. Like I said before, he doesn't even care about the price. When he gets his hands on some more money, he just buys right away. So it says here he owns almost 100,000 Bitcoin right here. I think that's his goal, is to own 100,000 Bitcoin. So that's over 0.5%. That's 0.6%. Am I reading that right? Of Bitcoin that are locked up. Those aren't coming back out. He's not selling those. And all those other companies he's been talking to, they know he's not going to sell. So if Hyper extends up to 1 million, then maybe it does correct 70%. It comes down to 300,000, something like that. And then I guess people could say, see, told you it was a pump and dump. I just don't think the institutions are going to get involved in that. They're more liable to just buy. And then when it gets to a level, they'll just totally stop and let the retail people that really don't know what they're doing pump it up hyper parabolic. And then when it's coming back down, that's when the institutions are going to start buying it all up again. Institutions are really smart. Institutional investors, they're really smart. And these markets, all these money markets, all the stock markets, crypto markets, these markets are literally designed to fleece you of your money. They're designed to take your money. All these little dips. This is the retail investors. They really don't know what they're doing a whole lot, and they get spooked and they sell. See, like, this is probably what the next bear market looks like a 25% correction where people are scared, and then the institutions will just snatch it up down here. And I don't know if it's technically, I don't even know if there's going to be a bear market, but I'm definitely in the camp now that I'm more inclined to say that it really is different this time. I just don't see how it can't be. It hasn't even really got started yet. When Apple and Netflix and Twitter and those companies started announcing that they've put in $1 billion or whatever into the Bitcoin, it's just going to be rocket fuel. And Apple's not going to engage in buying $2 billion Bitcoin and then selling it 5 months later. That's not what they do. these companies and the big wigs, they're buying this stuff to hold on for the decade to come. They're buying it to hold on to it. They're locking it away. So when the weak hands and the high leverage traders get liquidated and the weak hands get scared, those investors, they're just like whales in the ocean, swimming in circles, blowing air out their blowhole below a school of fish. Did you know that's how whales do that? They go down deep. A certain kind of whale, I think it's blue whales. They go down deep in the ocean and start swimming in circles, horizontally, of course, not what you're seeing there. And they form a funnel of bubbles that entraps a school of fish. And right as they're running out of air, they switch around and they go right up that funnel of bubbles with their mouth open, and they eat the entire school of fish. And that's what the investors are doing. And I just don't think they're going to turn around and sell. I think it's pretty clear now. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. I guess the real question is, what do you call a pump and dump? What do you call a bear market? You know, if the top is 350,000 this year, and the bear market is 220,000, I mean, is that really a bear market? This graph right here could be like a representation of what takes place during the next bear market. You know, 30% correction here, and then just kind of goes sideways for a while. Maybe goes up a little, down a little, and just kind of goes sideways for a couple years, maybe. But anyways, it's something to keep your eye on for sure. I just needed to make this video because I've told a ton of people in my videos, even on my other channel, you know, make sure you sell something. Make sure you sell something on the way up. Make sure you sell, because I've been repeating this information from all these old school to fairly old school YouTube channel people, and I probably shouldn't be repeating that, because the way I'm looking at it now, I think we might generally be in a super cycle. Even if it doesn't spike up to 1 million. No, if it spikes up to 1 million, then yeah, the chart will look like the last cycles. But that would be a frenzy. That would just be a heated, greedy frenzy, irresponsible pump and dump. When this bull cycle does top out, those whales are just going to be sitting there, and they're going to buy up every single one that gets sold. So that's been my plan the whole time, to follow along the whales. And I think I'd be making a mistake to continue saying, oh, in 6 or 7 months, I'm going to sell my Bitcoin. I think that might be a terrible mistake, because I know a lot of people out there are just like me, and they've heard all this information over and over and over and over. Maybe you need to break out of that thinking, because there might be people that are under that impression, and when it gets to 220,000, they're going to sell all their Bitcoin just to sit there and watch it go up to 4 or 5 or 600,000, or a hyper extended irresponsible peak to 1 million, which is possible. Raoul Pal is one of the best investors in the world. I mean, Michael Saylor knows what he's doing. Mass Mutual has been in business for a long time. So I guess in conclusion, these are not the people, and these are not the entities. These are not the corporations that just buy something to sell it in the next, 7 months. The people that are buying it, and it's hard to. I think a lot of people just can't let it sink in, because it's almost unbelievable to them. Even the people that have been saying Bitcoin's going to do this, I think even they just can't. I mean, they know it can happen, but I think it's just, we're not at a point yet. Maybe in a few months we will be, but I don't think we're at a point yet where even the most experienced people realize that, I wouldn't let myself believe this, It may go up over when, you know, maybe it goes up over 100,000. We might never see Bitcoin under 100,000 again, ever, you know. Anyways, could be wrong, but I think, in a fairly educated guess, if I had to guess, I would say I'm in the camp of it's just different this time. How can it not be? Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, thanks for watching.
I think that the internet is going to be one of the major forces for reducing the role of government. The one thing that's missing, but that will soon be developed, is a reliable e-cash, a method whereby on the internet you can transfer funds from A to B without A knowing B or B knowing A.